This is Margaret Ann Rule, and this is the Buckeye Patrons Pulse podcast. And
This is Sue Roy with the Ohio Knox County Granges.
that's right, we are. We're, as we've mentioned before, we're no longer with the Ohio State Grange as far as officers, but we are still members of the Ohio State Grange. And we have some things going on over there that we'd kind of like to talk about.
Yeah, the first thing that's coming up is April 15th, and it's an archive workday at the State Grange office. There'll be a potluck meal, and if you have any questions about anything, call Gary Brumbaugh, 419-438-6346.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit what that's all about? I mean,
Well, we kind of straighten things around, and mainly if granges have closed or combined, they put all their information and mark it all down and put it in an order that if somebody wants to do like genealogy or they want to know about, used to get calls all the time about a parent belonging to a certain grange that's no longer viable, so we can look it up.
okay. Okay, well, that should give people some idea. I mean, the High State Grange office is over here on Village Parkway outside of Fredericktown, Ohio. And anybody's welcome, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be a Granger to come and help
No,
go
not
through
at all.
that stuff. It's in the basement of the High State Grange, and it is handicap accessible.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what else you got for us, Sue?
Well, the other is Rural Life Sunday, which is May 1st, and it's at Trinity United Church of Christ, and that's in McCutcheonville. I believe that's Brother Traxter's church. And the deadline to let people know if you're coming is April 28th. Because the ladies at the church are fixing the meals. 1 o'clock is when the meal starts, and 2 is when the service starts, and it is $10 that goes to the church. And any questions, just call the state office, and they can help you out.
Okay. My understanding, and we didn't talk about this earlier, my understanding there's a new phone number, I think, over at the state office. No? Oh,
Put it in.
okay. I'm thinking there's a new one. So you might want to look at the website and see what the new phone number is. I believe I was told that at the state dartball
Yeah, I'm not sure
tournament.
how that works.
But anyhow, back to the Rural Life Sunday. What is that? What is it?
Well, it was supposed to be a gathering of Grange members, and it kind of follows around like Earth Day in April. It's always geared towards agriculture or something like that, and they've been having it for as long as I can remember.
Okay. Well, I know my Grange, Wayne Grange, does more of a memorial during that
Mhm.
rural life thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know whether or not it was kind of like a memorial, or it's just basically to talk about rural life
Yeah,
and what.
and it's really a church service, and it's I don't know, it's a gathering of Grange members. Of course, you don't have to be a Grange member to go. Anybody's welcome to
Right,
go.
right.
So you can take your family,
And we do
Yeah.
encourage families to come to these
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
That reminds me, this month happens to be a special month also.
Yes, it's Grange Month.
It is.
Yay. Yeah, and for the Ohio State Grange, it's 150 years. April 9th, I think, was our official date
Yeah.
when we were formed. And I noticed there's a lot of Granges that are having 100, 125, 150 years. And that kind of goes along with our theme this year. The national theme is Raised Right Here.
Right.
And
And I was raised right here. I'm like the third generation of Grangers.
Yeah, kind of me too.
See,
My grandparents and my mom and then me.
Right.
I've been in the Grange 40 years.
well, I've been in 50.
Yeah,
a little over 50.
I'm just a baby.
I mean, if you count my junior Grange, I've probably been in before I was even born.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Well, not today.
Not today? Okay. Well, we will end this podcast.
Be kind. Let's say that. Let's be kind.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know we've got a Farm City dinner coming up here on the 17th of April in Knox County. We will be, that's where the city people and the farm people get together for a dinner. It's going to be at the Ramsar 4-H building off the Fairgrounds Road in Mount Vernon. And I believe it starts at, the doors open at 6. It's a Monday night, and the dinner will start at 6:30. Cost us $10. Can't beat that. Like I said, you do not have to be a Granger. We have prizes, all sorts of things going on there with a program that will interest farmers or city people.
Yeah. Yes. Sounds like fun.
So yeah. So anyhow, this is Margaret Ann Rule, and
This is Sue Roy, and we'll see you next time.
all right. Take care. This is Margaret Ann Rule with the Buckeye Patrons Pulse podcast.
And this is Sue Roy with the Knox County, Ohio Granges.
And we are here to talk about a couple more items that are going on. As we mentioned in our previous podcast, this is National Grange Month, the month of April. And Sue, you want to talk about the Heirloom Project?
Yeah, it started last year, and it's a 4-year program where we go spring, summer, autumn, winter. We're now in April 2023, and each month at a Grange meeting we talk about these different things, and we try to guess what degree they're from. And what the Heirloom Project is, it's Grange traditions and values are our heirlooms, and these cornerstones of what it is to be Grange and Grangers tie us to our roots. We know nature never goes backward, nor can the Grange, but we must find ways to bridge the gap and make sure the next generations are prepared to inherit the great treasure that is Grange membership. The Heirloom Project allows us to do just that, move forward while retaining, celebrating, and imparting our most cherished values through monthly readings and reflections. And this one for April is from the first degree, and it's the steward speaking this. Those we admit into our circle are not chosen by outward appearance, and we are not deceived by display in dress. It is to the mind and heart that we look for all good works. Therefore, in your intercourse with the world, remember that a noble mind and a generous heart are often concealed beneath the garments of poverty.
Yes, and you said something about that being first degree.
First degree, yeah.
You might
a steward.
You might explain to the listeners about degrees.
If you're a Grange member, you know, when we have our meetings, which we have a book, and we, open the Grange, and there's readings that everyone does. We have lecture, we have chaplain, we have the master or president, treasurer. They all have something to say. The first degree is the steward is who's reading this that I just stated.
Right.
So,
and to be a Granger, you have to have the first 4 degrees.
yeah.
And we will talk more about the degrees as we progress.
Yeah.
And it starts bringing up about other degrees. The first 4 degrees go along with the seasons.
Right.
It kind of helps you understand the 4 seasons and what a farmer has to go through to complete those 4 seasons.
Yes. Yeah, designed for the Grangers to take just a few moments to read and reflect on a phrase or sentence from our first 4 degrees. The installation ceremony, the declaration of purposes, and this program provide one reading a month. A total of 60 value passages have been identified and put on a 5-year schedule. In this brochure that they've passed out, and you can go online and get this brochure, they talk about it at the National Grange level on the internet. In this brochure, you will find a year A and then B and C. We encourage you to keep this program going so members new to the Grange over the next few years will learn the lessons you teach in 2023 this year.
Okay. Very good. And we have one other thing we wanted to talk about. The fly-in.
Oh, yeah.
National Grange each year does what they call a fly-in, but because of COVID, they have modified the fly-in so that you can do it by means of a Zoom.
Right.
Okay.
There is a virtual fly-in April 26th. It starts at 1 o'clock. You can go to the National Grange website and you can register, and that way they can send you the Zoom link to watch this. And you can ask questions of these people that they're gonna have 4 speakers. They may have more than that, but right now they've got Senator Debbie Stabenow, Democrat from, I think it's Michigan, and she's on the Committee for Agriculture. And then we've got Michaela Bodie? I'm butchering on everybody's name. And
We apologize for that.
right ahead of time. U.S. Senate Agriculture and Forestry Nutrition Program. Then we've got Janet. Well, I'm going to kill this one too. She's president of the Health Force. Then we have Jenna Alsaid. She is senior director of the U.S. Telecom Corporation. So they'll all speak, and then I'm sure since it's live, you can ask questions if you want to.
Right.
We have in the past for these virtual
Right. There's usually on your Zoom thing you can put your hand up or whatever,
days.
or you can go ahead and type a question in ahead of time, and the moderator will translate it on to the speakers. But
And it's particularly for April, this is a good thing, and you can, even if you are not a legislative person in your Grange, you are welcome anytime to listen to these casts, these virtual things, and you just have to register. So, like I said, you can get the link sent to you in your email, and the deadline is coming up, so I would go on there and listen and see if you can get on there. And of course, I know Betsy Huber will be talking, and she is master president of the National Grange. And and then, it's something you can report to your Grange for Grange Month.
that's right.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I do have what's considered a fun cow fact. I can't even read my own writing. A fun cow fact. The average dairy cow produces 7 gallons of milk a day, 2,400 pounds of milk a month, and 46,000 glasses of milk a year. Another interesting fact is hot dog fact. According to one survey, 71% of Americans said they like to garnish their hot dogs with mustard. However, an overwhelming 52% of respondents say they prefer to smother their dogs with ketchup. What is your favorite topping?
Sauerkraut.
So anyhow, that's a couple of fun facts that I believe Connecticut Grange, I think, put that out. So I just thought I'd throw that in this time.
Okay.
So you can put that in your little, particularly about the cows. I'm telling you, the dairy operations are getting smaller and smaller. So I don't know what we're going to do about milk in the future, but that's for another discussion.
Yeah.
This is Margaret Ann Rule,
This is Sue Roy.
and we're asking you to continue listening for
Thanks.
other podcasts.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Margaret Ann Rule with the Buckeye Patrons Pulse podcast.
And this is Sue Roy with the Ohio Knox County Granges.
And we are here to talk about several items actually, that's going on. First of all, April is National Grange Month. And so we thought we'd talk about a few things that National Grange is trying to work on or trying to promote and stuff. And I'm going to talk about rural polls slow internet build out. And this article talks about us getting internet to our under or not served areas that don't have internet. The Wall Street Journal recently reported that high-speed internet rollout to rural America is being delayed as cable companies and electric utilities battle over who pays when new utility poles are needed for internet services. The poles are owned by electric or phone companies that often aren't receiving public money to build out broadband. Broadband providers need access to these existing poles to run their broadband lines. Pole owners need to be compensated for make-ready costs, such as moving existing wires or replacing poles. Internet providers say they are experiencing high fees and foot dragging from pole owners. The Federal Communications Commission has drafted but not released mediation guidelines that would help solve this problem. The National Grange has petitioned the FCC several times in recent months to release the mediation document. I know this is something that when I was a state rep we were constantly battling between the phone company and electric companies did not want to share the poles, or if they did share them, like it says in the article, they wanted to charge a high fee for it, which, a pole's a pole, and I understand getting a reasonable fee for allowing other people to use them for their lines, but sometimes this gets a little ridiculous when you have people that are hurting because they can't access the internet.
Yeah, because, almost everything in school today is on the internet, and not just looking at facts, but actually any kind of Zoom things done with teachers all have to be done through the internet. And then you've got people who do home health care. They have to use the internet to check in and check out with their clients. And so it's really a kind of a...
Well, almost even every kind of job anymore needs the internet to access and to, farmers keep track of their stuff, their inventory and stuff with a computer.
Right.
All that stuff, everything. I don't care what kind of job you have. Pretty much you gotta have a computer and you need access to the internet.
Well, I have too, because there's a thing that they advertise on TV that you can buy through Amazon, and it's to take your heart pulse and all that. And it can tell if you're having a heart attack or, having issues with your heart. But what they don't tell you, if you don't have the internet, you can't use it.
Right.
It's a real deal. It's only $69.99. But they don't tell you if you can't plug it into a computer or have any kind of internet service, you can't use it.
Right.
So,
Well, I guess you can go to McDonald's or the library and access
if you're having a heart attack, let's get to McDonald's. Probably won't give you the heart attack.
I'm sorry, McDonald's.
Yeah, me too. Love you.
What do you got for us, Sue?
Well, we've got the Bipartisan Dairy Pride Act, and it's been reintroduced in Congress in an effort to combat the practice of labeling non-dairy products using dairy names. Senate co-sponsors say the Dairy Pride Act will require non-dairy products made from seeds, plants, and algae to no longer being mislabeled with dairy terms such as milk, yogurt, or cheese. Meanwhile, the FDA has acknowledged the problem of nutritional differences and has drafted recommendations to prevent consumer confusions about the nutritional makeup of plant-based milk alternatives. Unfortunately, the guidelines still permit the use of the term milk on plant-based products and have not yet addressed labeling of cheese and yogurt. And that comes through, we've been talking about this a long time, through National Grange, through our other resolutions from state granges. They don't want almond milk called milk.
Right.
And that will come up too later on when we talk about meat and not real meat. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
You mean like tofu?
Yeah. Yeah. The next thing that kind of goes with that is a proposed new rule would allow the voluntary product of USA or made in the USA label claims to be used on meat, poultry, and egg products only when born, raised, harvested, and processed in the United States. The change would alter the current language which allows for meat derived outside the U.S. to bear a product of the USA label if it is processed in an American facility. National Grange policy has long supported such requirements. So we can get pork and all that stuff from China, but if it's processed here, we can now say it's product of the USA. What they want is total inclusion of things. They don't want half processed. They want it whole processed here. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay. Sounds good.
All
You got
right.
one more?
Yes. The USDA is proposing rule changes to allow more schools to offer free meals to all students regardless of income. Under existing eligibility provisions, schools can offer free meals to all students if at least 40% of the students have household incomes below the federal poverty. Okay, I can't talk today. Poverty line. Approximately 16 million students get free meals now under existing policy. Excuse me. The proposal would expand that number to 25 million. That's a lot of free lunches. So,
That's right.
but there's a lot of kids going hungry.
That's right.
So.
We cannot let them go hungry.
And that would include, I believe, they have little kits for them to take home on the weekends.
Oh, good.
So that would be it.
Okay. Well, I have a small article from out of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. The Ohio Department of Agriculture announced 294 acres have been added to the Farmland Preservation Program. Thomas Dorley of Auglaize County and Stephen Iddings of Miami County became the second and third Ohio farmers to join the program this year. In partnership with the ODA, local sponsors Auglaize Soil and Water Conservation District and Miami Soil and Water Conservation District played significant roles in securing this agricultural agreement. An agricultural easement in farmland preservation is a voluntary agreement between the landowner and ODA where the landowner agrees to perpetually maintain the land predominantly in agricultural use. In exchange, the landowner is either compensated or may be entitled to a tax deduction. Since the Office of Farmland Preservation began in 1998, 683 farms totaling 103,336 acres have entered into agreements. This program started, I remember, back when I was still county auditor. And we have, I believe there's, I remember the first one that was entered in Knox County. And it's to preserve our land. We're not making any more land. And, I see them building this new Intel. And I understand that we need the chips to operate our vehicles and, many other items needs those chips. And I get that. But I also see that they're using thousands of our farmland acreage. to build the facility that they need in order to do that. So at some point we need to kind of stop some of this building. And
Yeah.
the Preservation Act or program is to, developers are coming in and they're enticing farmers to sell their farms to them so they can develop it.
Yeah.
And the farmer's looking at, maybe they don't have any heirs to take over the farm, so they're looking at, selling this stuff, their land. And I'm just really concerned about that,
Yeah.
the direction that we're going in. And I don't know the answer to all the questions, because we still have to make development, but yet, I can speak for Mount Vernon at least. They had some factories that moved out. Why can't you tear down those buildings, put your factories in there, leave our farmland alone?
Yeah.
Just my thought.
Yeah, I feel that way too. My grandparents worked for the Methodist Children's Home in Worthington, Ohio. They were farmers for that facility. And, so much has changed there in town. And when my grandmother was still alive, I took her down there, and all that land, and I would say there was probably 400 acres or more, all had houses on it.
Yes.
And the kids there worked on the farm. They were 16 and up boys, and they raised the food for the facility. And so that isn't happening anymore. So, every time you turn around there, if there's a square inch of land, it's got to have a house on it. And with the ways the things go with our international people, I don't think we should be, and this is just my opinion, so don't get protesters, that we shouldn't depend on other countries to feed us. Sometimes that doesn't work.
Right.
But anyway, that's just my thought.
Okay. Very good. Well, we appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah.
But please don't pick at her house. And I know, we laugh about it, but we do need housing. There's a shortage of housing and everything. I just hate to see us abandon our downtowns. I know some of them are starting to be revitalized, and they are putting in condos or apartments above some of those buildings. Yes, it's going to take a lot of work, but there again, to me that's the best solution for your housing and to preserve our land.
Yeah. Yeah. So to end that, I got a little saying. It says, "Don't complain about farmers with your mouth full." So that's my thought for the day.
How true a thought that is. So this is Margaret Ann Rule, and
This is Sue Roy.
we're signing off for another podcast of ours.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.